Hi guys, it's TechBoy here with another video. This video is summing up everything Apple announced in 2013 and giving a view on what I thought they did throughout the year and what was good for the company and all that. I'm going to have to go through this rather quickly because there's a lot of stuff to get through and I may not have time to cover every single little thing, but hopefully I'll cover the majority of it, so let's get started. The first major event throughout the year was WWDC 2013, and at that event they announced OS X Mavericks, MacBook Air, iWork for iCloud, and iOS 7. I personally believe it was the highlight of the year because in every odd-numbered year, hence 2013, they seem to focus more on software than they do on hardware, and hardware on every even-numbered year, e.g. 2014. The intro video from the keynote basically sums up the company's values, and it makes perfect sense. They're trying not to be the first to everything, hence smartwatches, and thinking about the experience and making technologies that enable that experience, hence Touch ID. OS X Mavericks has really shown that the desktop OS has peaked, and they're just adding extra stuff because they can, and they're optimizing the software to get the most out of the hardware, such as battery life in the MacBook Air 2013 edition. All-day battery life in the MacBook Air is a selling point, and they added 802.11ac to it and introduced some Airport Extreme and Airport time capsules along with it that also support 802.11ac. MacBook Pro is more innovative than other people think. I find it's very easy to go out and make a computer that has the same specs as the Mac Pro, not necessarily run the same operating system, of course, because that would be a Hackintosh, and has all the same specs for less money, but you would struggle to get it at the same size as the 2013 MacBook Pro, which is 1/8 the volume of the 2012 version, use 70% less power, and make it as quiet as the Mac Mini desktop, which is astounding. Some other things they announced. For iWork for iCloud, they basically showed that Apple wants customers to use their software compared to their competitors, hence Microsoft Office, and regardless of the platform I'm talking about. Standing ovation from the crowd after iOS 7 intro video is, in my opinion, more significant than people think it is, because it was a significant moment in Apple's history because it provided more faith to the developers in developing for the operating system because it started to get stale and all that, hence why they did the fresh coat of paint, with Android on the rise and being available on more devices, hence Samsung, Motorola, HTC and all those devices. iOS 7, whilst many think it was a fresh painted coat, and yes it is, they should also understand it's more than skin deep. For example, Control Center, really useful. All redesigned applications, for example the weather application. AirDrop has been included. I personally haven't used it on my iPhone 5S because I haven't managed to do it with anyone yet. Background app refreshes I personally don't use. Creating a UI that would not date as easy as skeuomorphism, which basically reflects real-world objects, hence a yellow notepad in the Notes app in iOS 6. And iTunes Radio is not available in Australia, so I personally haven't used it, but in comparison, just in the US alone, in 1 month, people have listened to over 1 billion songs through iTunes Radio, which is astounding. The next event they had was the September 2013 event with the tagline, "This should brighten everyone's day." So what did they announce? Well, to start off, they started coming out by basically giving the image that Apple does not want to invest money in hiring out venues to host events if it's not necessary, especially if the 5S is a more insignificant upgrade compared to the iPhone 5 from the 4S. Upgraded it to the 5. Over 700 million devices have been sold since the original iPhone in 2007. iOS 7 was released on September 18th for free. iPhone 5 no longer exists because they replaced it with 2 new designs. iWork is available for free to anyone who is now buying an iOS device as of 5S and in the future. The iPhone 5C clearly stands for colours and was never intended to be as cheap a device as everybody claimed it was going to be, as Tim Cook quoted in their October financial conference call. If you look at what we've done, we're selling the 4S as our entry offer, we sell the 5C as the mid-tier, and the 5S. The 5C is, to sum it up, the iPhone 5 with a slightly bigger battery, a slightly better front-facing camera, but so if you upgrade from the 5 to the 5C, I personally think it's a sidestep, not a step forward. And it has a beautifully, unapologetically plastic backing, according to Johnny Ive, which was quite funny. Also, they announced the iPhone 5S and calling it the most forward-thinking phone. The A7 chip provides 64-bit processing power and quad-core graphics, which is the first time for a 5S, for an iPhone rather. Touch ID is future-proof in a way that they can add more features that take advantage of Touch ID sensor at a later time, if they choose to. OpenGL ES version 3.0 is the latest graphics standard, so once again, everything I just said for Infinity Blade. M7 chip was put in there with the A7 as a co-processor to work alongside the A7 for two reasons. To provide more accurate range for fitness apps and help save battery life since the M7 tracks the movement of devices so it can communicate with the A7 chip only when necessary. Same 8 megapixel camera on the back, but more megapixels does not mean a better picture. Hence why they've just made the pixels larger to obtain more light. True Tone Flash is really innovative, and it's not just making pictures brighter for nighttime photos, but it gives more accurate colour when it comes to skin tones and all that. And Touch ID provides a better way to unlock your phone and save having to type password in every time you download a new app. And finally, the last major event they had in October was the event where they said we have a lot to cover, which turns out to be not really much of a surprise. They just had a lot to talk about. So in October they said that the iPhone 5S is the biggest iPhone launch ever, hence why I've got my iPhone. First iPhone, by the way. And presumably the biggest launch weekend ever with 9 million units sold, 5S and 5C combined. 200 million devices are running iOS 7 after 5 days, and it's now running over 64% of devices are running iOS 7 as of mid-October, which is absolutely phenomenal compared to Android, even though Google's just brought out Android KitKat 4.4. Does that mean all the devices are going to snap? No, I'm just joking around. We'll see how that turns out in terms of how many devices are upgradable to it. 1 million apps are on the App Store, and about half of them are designed for the iPad. 60 billion apps have been downloaded worldwide, with $13 billion in revenue going to developers. This keynote clearly had a goal of announcing the new products while attacking Microsoft where possible from the start, because it was things like they're turning PCs into tablets and tablets into PCs. Hence, Microsoft Surface Pro and Surface RT. And then they were also arguing how much it costs to upgrade your computer from Windows 7, regardless of which service pack, to Windows 8. Whereas OS X Mavericks is now for free, compared to paying $200 for it. MacBook Pro with Retina displays received an update to receive all-day battery life, and to update specs including Thunderbolt 2, 8211AC and faster flash, which holds your data. The Mac Pro received all the final specs and stuff, as I thought they would, and a base model in Australia is $4,000. Not paying that price. This device is incredibly future-proof, but not many people can afford it, hence myself. Hence it's made for pro users who do photo, video and audio content creation, as they demonstrated during their keynote. Some other stuff they announced: iLife received a massive update. iOS versions designed to make use of the 64-bit chips, and it's free with any purchase of any new Mac or iOS device, and the free updates were made available on that day for people who owned the previous versions. And iWork also received a massive update. iOS versions designed for use of the 64-bit chips, and it's free, like the same scenario with iLife. iWork for iCloud received the ability to do collaborations in real time with other people, even if they don't have an iCloud account, even if they don't own iWork, etc. Apple has now sold 170 million iPads in early October, since the first one came out almost 4 years ago. which is not just a record for a product from Apple, but a significant milestone for any company in the tech industry itself. And Tim Cook highlights that market share is completely irrelevant because everybody thinks that everybody owns a Samsung Galaxy Tab and that's all they ever use. But if you look at the percentage of usage that people actually use the tablets, iPads are used 81% of the time based on tablet web traffic results. Other stuff they announced, the iPad received a new name called iPad Air, which had changes including 43% smaller sided bezels when held in portrait, 1.9mm thinner, weighs 1 pound, chamfered edges like the iPad mini, space grey black and silver and white options. The A7 chip is 1.4 GHz compared to 1.3 in the 5S. MIMO technology, which not many people know. Basically, it will transmit 100 megabytes of data in the time it takes to do 50 megabytes of data, compared to what you've done previously. It's just that much faster. Expanded LTE coverage, dual microphones, dual speakers for real stereo sound, but it's not quite real stereo sound because they're both on the bottom. Updated FaceTime HD cameras, faster charging, same price points as before but $50 more expensive in Australia, and shipped around the world initially on November the 1st is when that happened. Also, iPad mini 2nd Gen was announced. It has a Retina display with 4 times the resolution, about the same thickness, same colours as iPad Air, same chip as the iPad Air, same MIMO technology as the iPad Air, expanded LTE coverage, same as iPad Air, same HD camera as iPad Air, and it's $399 instead of $329, both in the US. So it's narrowed the gap between both of them, so it's size versus portability, people's personal decision, and ships later in November. Also, smart cover was redesigned to fit the iPad Air, and a new smart case was brought out, which is more expensive, $100 in Australia. Get buggered. I recommend if you are getting an iPad Air, get a smart cover compatible case for the back and a smart cover for the front, and save at least $50, which is half the cost of an Apple TV box, or 1 month if you're on a 24-month contract with a phone, for example. So what have we learnt this year? Apple has matured and they don't want to wreck the success they're having. They do not want to bring out drastic changes every year. They love chamfered edges. They love how it's incredibly easy to update the iOS software. And they listen to customer feedback, hence drastic update to iOS 7, addition of collaboration features for iWork and iCloud, and Retina iPad mini. They love making devices thinner, lighter, faster, without sacrificing battery life. But you tell iPhone uses that. Apple doesn't care about market share, but rather usage. Doubling the storage in their devices is only necessary for the Mac lineup, not so much iOS. Apple likes to make the flagship iOS device not available for pre-order to create longer lines at their retail stores. Darn you. Apple charges people more for hardware, gives them more frequent OS updates, and are now for free in long term. So in the long term, people are going to save more money. Also, in every odd year, they're going to focus on software more than hardware. Johnny Ive is not afraid to have a go at designing software. Craig Federighi has a good sense of humour. iPods only get significant updates bi-yearly, as iPad predicted. iPad 2 will never go away, probably because of the 30-pin dock connector. And that's it for now. So thank you very much for watching. If you've watched to the end, the question for you, the audience, is: were you satisfied with what Apple announced this year? If not, why not? So you can let me know by leaving a comment below. And if you enjoy this, please give it a like. And if you choose to, subscribe to my channel, but only if you want to. I'm not going to force you, but if you choose to, it's greatly appreciated. So until next time, I will catch you later.